What's up guys, Pokémon TCG here, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today guys is going to be a little bit of a on-the-fly sort of episode. I'm kind of go through my thoughts as we go through it. But today we're going to be talking about the everlasting, resilient success of my favorite deck, potentially of all time, Mew VMAX. So as pretty much everyone's aware at this point, Mew VMAX was able to win the 2023 Pokemon World Championships, beating Tord Reklev with, Vance Kelly was able to use his Mew VMAX deck to beat Tord Reklev's Gardevoir EX deck, or Mew VMAX deck to beat Gardevoir EX, piloted by arguably the best player in the game, Tord Reklev, in the finals of the World Championships. And this wasn't actually the only Mew deck in the finals, as Azul Garcia Grego was also able to. He was fourth. And yeah, Mew has seen a ton of success, also being in a lot of top six, or kind of those top 32 spots. Mew really did make a comeback in order to win the World Championship. So that's what I want to talk about today, is just how did Mew get to this point? How was it able to thrive? How was it able to survive? And how the heck was it able to become the world champion after so much has been going on? So looking through all these decks and stuff, I just wanted to do a quick video about why I think Mew was able to do it. Kind of go through a little definitive history of the deck, not too deep, because that would be like an entire documentary. That'd be a video for another day. But we're just going to be talking about the success of Mew and how it was able to overcome and avoid every single counter in order to become the world champion. So, taking a look first off, Mew Genesect, this is kind of the skeleton list right here. Like, what are you going to have to play in a Mew VMAX deck? And you can see a lot of, like, very common cards, like, obviously Mew VMAX, Mew VMAX, Genesect V, and then, Double Turbo Wonder. Like, some of these, like, 100% cards that, like, you're gonna see in, like, basically every Mew deck. And that's just how the core concept works. And then you have most of these decks using Meloetta and Elisa Sparkle with Fusion Strike Energy in order to fully utilize the wide variety of attacks that Fusion Strike Energy can turn on. And then also, Fusion Strike Energy is able to stop some counters, but we'll talk about that more later. So Mew is a very it's a very defined archetype at this point. Fusion Strike Mew is usually the deck of choice nowadays. It used to be the Double Turbo version, but that's since been replaced by Fusion Strike as people slowly came to realize that Fusion Mew was just way better to use. So I have always been a die-hard believer and a big fan of Mew, and I always love to see this deck in action and be able to do so well. So I was rooting for Mew going into the World Finals. I was not expecting Mew to get as far as it did. I thought it was going to be like top 8 and then that was it. But then when I saw, when I woke up the morning, and since it was in Japan and I couldn't see, I was asleep during part of it. When I woke up the next morning and I saw that Championship Sunday was going to have a Mew VMAX in the finals and that there was a Mew VMAX in top 4, I was shocked. I was like blown away. I'm like, dang, this is crazy. I can't believe that there's actually 2 Mews that were able to pull through. And part of that was because of all the counters that Mew has been oppressed by over the years. So there's been a lot of different counters for Mew, but ultimately I believed all the way through. I believed that Mew was going to win, was going to succeed, and part of it is not for reasons that everyone understands. So looking here, hold on. First off, I did say this all the way back in on May 31st. of this year, saying to anyone who keeps claiming that Mew is going to die in the Paldea Evolved format, take a second to look back at every Mew counter that has dropped in the past. Not even a literal direct counter in the form of Drapion, and by extent things like Galarian Moltres and Mightyena and Klefki were able to stop it, and I said Mew will thrive and I'll defend it until the end, which will be rotation. And I turned out to be like on the money here. Looking at the quote tweets, I did make a quote tweet a few days later explaining my thought process about why Mew VMAX isn't going to die off in the Paldea Evolved meta. So it was just a Google document. This is one of my this was my very first article that I wrote, individual article. So I do write my own articles sometimes, just individually, and so I'm just gonna kind of glance over this a little bit. But I made this article kind of explaining why Mew is still going to succeed, and why I think that Fusion Mew is gonna be good, and kind of that sort of stuff. It was just kind of predicting what's going on. The only thing that I was really wrong here about this is Spiritomb not making the cut. And I was definitely very wrong about, because Spiritomb, obviously it did make the cut. Spiritomb is a very present card, even in the format right now, Obsidian Flame format. But this was like the only part that I got wrong, which I'm really proud of. Here, argument 1 was Spiritomb. I was wrong on that. Giacomo, argument 2. I've seen a couple weird, wacky lists play Giacomo, but it's not that big of a deal. And Drapion, I mean, it's Drapion. If you run into it, it's kind of just game over. Or it's very tough to get back. Now, I made 2 potential outcomes of Mew VMAX, for Mew VMAX going into kind of the subsequent tournaments at the time, which I wasn't really thinking about Worlds, but I guess this can really apply to Worlds. It is, the worst possible outcome is if everyone started playing Mew all at once, everyone's going to start targeting. They're going to be like, oh, I got to throw in that Drapion, I got to throw in the Sky Seal Stone, got to throw in Spiritomb, I got to throw in all the cards, and like scope, just put into that target is going to be, that's where Mew is going to go. The crosshairs, really. It's like, we're going to counter Mew. If it's going to do well, we're going to counter it until it cannot be countered anymore, because it's gone. People just are discouraged and they stop playing the deck. So this is just it's a natural cycle throughout the game. And or if a card becomes popular, or if an archetype becomes popular, counters inevitably will pop up. They'll do their thing, and then after that, they'll go back to, and then it'll kind of revert, where it's like, okay, well, now this deck is kind of dead. We're going to just leave it alone, and that's where it kind of resurfaces a bit, and it just repeats the cycle over and over. But Mew has had the most, honestly, looking back at, I haven't been playing the game for a super long time, I think since like 2016, 2017. So I haven't been around in other formats I know there's been like dominant decks of, but I do know that like Mew is one of the most counter decks of all time in the Pokemon TCG, and that's just a fact. Like, just seeing how many counters have been created. But with all these counters going at Mew, it would just make it impossible for it to do anything and go anywhere, because it's almost an auto loss anytime that you're up against something with potential 1 or 2, or like 2 or even 3 Mew counters in a deck or whatever. And so I predicted that Mew was going to go under the radar. And looking at day 1 of Worlds, it definitely did. Day 1 of the World Championships, there was like nobody who played Mew. Like it was pretty crazy. I was kind of sad, because I was like, oh shoot, there's like no Mew. And so that's where I started kind of making that thought in my head, like, oh shoot, Mew isn't gonna make it. It's not gonna do as well as I thought. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe Giratina will do well, because Giratina has like reemerged as the best deck in the format. And I thought before that, I was like, okay, well, maybe Arceus will win. It has a lot of variance. And then Arceus died. It just dropped like immediately. So I was like, secretly I still wanted Mew to win. Like, and the fact that I saw it pop up all of a sudden, flood the board day 2, where you're allowed to change your deck, and nobody was ready for it, that was perfect. That was like the most shocking and satisfying thing for someone who roots for Mew to see. So I did predict under the radar that I said it might sound pretty dumb, but honestly, this is the best outcome for anyone who wants to play Mew. It's just like, if nobody knows that Mew is there, if nobody knows that Mew is going to be a good deck, and you kind of just like pull it out of your pocket last second, almost like your ace in the hole or your trump card, just at like last second, trick up your sleeve, then boom, you're good. You can play the game normally without all the dumb counters going into everything, and that's why Mew was able to kind of overtake everybody, and it was just able to flood the entire meta of day 2. And Mew is a very popular and it's a very powerful deck, but it was able to just kind of get its way in there, just falling underneath the we got a tech for the Mew matchup, which is honestly Mew's biggest weakness. So I was pretty correct with that. But looking here at the TCG player, looking here, you can actually see Mew has been like kind of just wonky, but as soon as we hit like here, lowest point right before Worlds, and then it spiked as soon as Worlds was up, because people realized that Mew was a good deck. People were like, oh wow, this is a World Championship deck, let me go ahead and let me go buy some Mews. And then it's starting to drop again, because that's just how it goes. It's now, because it's a World Championship deck, everyone wants to play it, and if everyone wants to play it, the counters come back, and it just repeats the cycle. So I was pretty happy with this prediction. I was right. I called Mew success. Yay me. But overall, I just want to talk about why why this is such a big deal. Mew has half a dozen counters, half a dozen like direct counters that you just know were created for Mew, and it's incredible to me. The fact that I wouldn't say we, because I wasn't at Worlds, but the followers of the Great Mew Cult, I guess, all believed, and everyone wanted Mew. Like, all of the Mew lovers, you're either a Mew lover or you're a Mew hater, and I'm a Mew lover, so I was pretty excited when I saw Mew in the finals, and I was just, it was really special, honestly, seeing the fact that Mew is able to overcome all these counters, and as arguably the most countered deck in the entire Pokemon TCG's history, and it was able to overcome all of the oppression and overcome everything that was in its way, and it was able to beat the best player in the game. Vance Kelly was able to beat Tord Reklev, the best player arguably the best player in the entire Pokemon TCG. It makes me very happy as a Mew player. And you know, on this channel that I've made so many videos on Mew VMAX. I still have my own Mew VMAX deck. It's still worth like $300. But Mew is really just that comfort deck. It's really that deck where, like, you're either gonna love playing Mew, you're either gonna love kind of having that as a deck option, or you're gonna hate it and you're never gonna touch it, and you're gonna include all the counters. And it's just like, this deck is obviously very powerful. It's been a dominant card, or a dominant deck, for such a long time. And I mean, it's had its ups and downs. Like, it has been through a roller coaster, as we can see in the price history. Like, at an all-time low for price, at $3.71. I remember when this card was $30 a pop. But as time goes on, more counters have come up, And the card has become slightly less relevant because as a psychic type, there's so many dark types in the format. At this point, it's not even funny. But also with EXs being 2 prizes and having the same amount or even more HP than this 3 prizer, it's just become like Mew has started to drift away from being in that top contention for that top spot. So overall, I'm just really proud of Mew for winning Worlds, and I'm pretty sure a good number of people feel the same way. Even if you don't like Mew, you still gotta admit, like, this is the Pokemon TCG's probably one of the Pokemon TCG's biggest success stories, and I'm really happy that it was with a deck that I have come to know, I've come to love, and one that I have gotten some decent success with myself. So excuse me. So that's gonna really wrap up this video. I just want to kind of explain why I think Mew's success is so it's so awesome, honestly. Just the way that Mew's success was able to come out of nowhere. It was like just completely unexpected, and just really as a Mew player and a Mew fan, explain why this is such a big deal in the overall history of the Pokemon TCG. So that's gonna wrap it up for this video. I know I've been gone again. Personal life has been crazy lately. Been involved in a lot of personal projects and stuff like that, but we will be starting to get back to normal uploads soon. Still a little bit of in real life stuff to work on, but yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, consider subscribing, liking the video. Let me know what you think about Mew. I know that Mew is definitely an annoying deck to go against, but I really just want to hear your thoughts about, like, what were your thoughts about Mew winning Worlds and coming and overtaking everybody, and also even I almost forgot to mention winning 2 regionals in a row right before it. But honestly, yeah, I just want to hear your thoughts about Mew and its overall ultimate success story. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, God bless, have fun. We'll see you out there, and we'll see you next time. Thank you all so much for watching.